Many years ago, before Netflix and Redbox, there was a magic place you would go to that was bathed in neon and fluorescent light. The place was riddled with old dusty VHS tapes and cardboard cutouts of your favorite action heroes. But behind the nostalgic yellow and blue color scheme and the smell of stale popcorn, there was something dark and mysterious that lingered within the shadows. Today, I want to talk about the strangest and most creepiest things that ever happened in Blockbuster. In the year of 1994, at a Blockbuster in Houston, Texas, there was an unsolved double murder that took place there. The written entry of this double murder goes as follows. It was a quiet September night in Houston, Texas. 2 Blockbuster employees were working the closing shift, but they never made it home. They were found in the back room, executed. Nothing but $400 missing. No forced entry. The most chilling part? Investigators believe the killer was someone they knew. The case is still unsolved, and the store was shut down shortly after. People say that you can still feel a heaviness when you drive past where the Blockbuster once stood. At a Blockbuster in Michigan in the year 2005, there was some late-night workers and even a few customers that reported seeing a motionless man standing still in the horror section. When they went to go approach this motionless man, they couldn't find him. He just wasn't there. And when they went back to go check on the security footage, there was no evidence of him being there to begin with. Apparently, the next day on the night shift, they found a mannequin standing where that man was, dressed in a Blockbuster uniform. When they checked the cameras again to see who put it there, it apparently glitched out at some certain time in the night, so I guess they won't ever really know who put the mannequin there. Obviously, no one admitted to placing the mannequin there, but if you've ever seen that movie Mannequin from 1987 with Jonathan McCarthy, it might have just walked in on its own. At a Blockbuster in Las Cruces, New Mexico in the year 2000, a man entered a minute before closing, stared at the employee without saying a word, and just stabbed him and left. The man didn't take any money or anything, but when he was eventually caught, he was questioned, and apparently he said he had felt watched inside the store, so I guess his course of action was to stab the employee that looked at him, I guess. The Blockbuster employee actually ended up surviving, but he refused to return to work, and I guess you can't really blame him. I guess you could say the real horror isn't sitting on the shelves, but bleeding next to the register. In the city of Indianapolis, there was a Blockbuster there that was reported as haunted. Employees at this Blockbuster reported flickering lights, whispering voices, and sometimes even tapes falling off the shelves. The local lore claims that the building was constructed on a relocated cemetery, and I guess not all of the bodies were moved before they did that. From what I read, apparently multiple night shift employees quit mid-shift and refused to return. You know, as terrified as these employees probably were, I can't help but imagine that working at a haunted Blockbuster could only be a dream job. So back in the early 2000s, at this local Blockbuster in Southern California, there were a bunch of horror movies that would end up in the return bin, even though they were apparently still on the shelves and had never been rented. I guess customers were swearing up and down that they had never rented these films, and the employees even took it a step further to where they were marking those exact horror films that kept ending up in the return bin, but they kept ending up in the return bin. Eventually, that Blockbuster just took out the entire horror movie section as a whole, but some say those movies just found a new home at a new Blockbuster. And the last one I want to talk about was a Blockbuster urban legend back in the late 90s. One store in the Midwest apparently had this man come in every Friday night and rent obscure horror movies. He would return them the next day, apparently unwatched, rewound, and melted. These VHS tapes smelled like wax and smoke, and when they asked him about it, he said, "I watched them by candlelight." Soon after this encounter, there was a blackout in town, and they found the man's house burned to the ground. When investigators went inside his house, they found a pile of dozens of melted VHS tapes, and apparently the man was never seen again. Either this man was burning movies because he hated them, or he was using them as some sort of kindling for warmth. But I guess we'll never know. You know, I like thinking back on all the nostalgic moments I had at Blockbuster, and I kind of miss having these creepy urban legends to talk about, even if it was just with some friends or some weird thing that you read online. Kind of takes me back. The age-old tradition of going to your local video store, picking up a couple movies and a box of Twizzlers is long and forgotten. But I guess we can keep the memory alive by talking about our most cherished memories of the video store, some of the weird stuff that we saw and rented there, what it smelled like, how the people were. But anyways, I'm gonna go heat up a bowl of popcorn and rewatch my VHS of Ace Ventura: Pet Detective. So, I'll see you guys in the next video. Thanks for watching. Bye.